hate some of them. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Amazing. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Zibby's. I'm Gabi Conti, and I am so excited to be here with Tamika Christy. Her new book, Rue, you can pre-order it now.
Yes, please.
And it's so good. I got it. This is my advanced copy that I got to read, and I love it so much. And I also read her book, Never Too Soon, but we'll focus this conversation on Rue, so everyone watching at home and here can find out about it and definitely get that pre-order. When does it come out again?
January 9th.
January 9th. So you can order it now for the holidays.
Yes.
And then it'll be an exciting surprise that comes in the mail after the holidays.
Yes.
So that's always a good choice, right?
Yes.
So you're before Rue, you did Never Too Soon and Anytime Soon.
Yes.
And those were focused on Amaya and her journey and her World Series.
Yes.
And if you're familiar with those books, those are more of like lighter, beachier reads, right?
Yes.
But now with Rue, we have something a little deeper. We talk about family dynamics, mothers and daughters. So I'm so curious, what inspired you to come up with this book?
The first two books, so all three of my books are about complicated relationships, family dynamics, and just discovering that inner child and finding a way to heal. And the first two books, I worked full time, and I've always enjoyed writing. And so but the first one was a short story and it became a novel. And I think I told you this, I didn't think it was the greatest. So I called myself redeeming myself with the second novel. And so it went deeper into the characters and the dynamics of the family. And when I started the third book, I thought, I really want to challenge myself to write something more literary. Like I really want to dig deep into this. And so I stuck with my passion of writing about family and complicated relationships and healing, but I did take a more literary approach. I did keep the humor in there because life is hard. And when you're tackling some of these hard issues, it is easy when you can come every 15 or 20 minutes upon a laugh. So I kept some of the lightheartedness in there, but I do continue to explore some of the deep relationships and the journey of healing.
It's so good. And it's told through three different perspectives.
Yes.
All under the Chavez family.
Yes.
And we have the story of, we have Manon, Emerson, and Odester.
Yes.
So, and they all tell their stories from different time periods.
Yes.
So why did you choose those three family members to be the voices of this story?
I felt like those three characters, I've developed them because they were the most impacted by their moms and their relationships with family. So a lot of times, I don't know, as women, we go through different things in our relationship with our children, with our image, and we don't realize a lot of it comes from childhood. And so it's a French Creole.
Oh, Manon. Sorry.
So her mom, very overachieving, always appropriate, a member of everything, all the elite society. And you see this woman grow up to be a socialite. She didn't finish all of her dreams. She didn't accomplish the things that she wanted to. And she was holding in these deep secrets. And all of it was based on this overachieving, this thing that her mom and her family put inside of her that she couldn't get rid of. Odester is the middle child who she had an undiagnosed learning disorder, and I hope the readers will pick up on that.
I picked up on that.
Yeah, she was undiagnosed because it was in the 60s. Overlooked. The other sisters were smarter, prettier in her eyes because they were fairer skinned. And you see the dynamic of her going into a relationship early. She's a teenage mom, and then she starts dibbling and dabbling into these different things in life. And you hear through her lens, why I don't feel loved, I don't feel pretty, everybody cares about my sisters more than me. And so she starts to self-soothe with drugs and relationships. Emerson she's the fourth generation. She doesn't know her family. She's California. She wants to know her history, and everything for her has been prep school and this society. And she goes back home because she's trying to figure out who she is. And her mom is saying, these people are dysfunctional. All these different things are going on and happening. And she's like, no, like they're not perfect, but they're family. So you see the eyes through somebody who is like, oh my God, these people are incredible. They cook and they get together. I don't care what they do. And somebody who says, these people are overbearing and they want me to be something that I'm not, and they only care about image. So I picked those three characters for those specific reasons so you can see the different dynamics. Same family, same lineage and the different outcomes for all three of them.
It's interesting. And then Odester and Manon have that similar link where Manon's mom is Odester's sister who she could never live up to.
Right.
So it's kind of like they share that, I wouldn't say trauma, I guess bond.
No,
trauma
it is. It's
trauma.
trauma.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And trauma bonding, we hear about that a lot. And also family trauma that came up on the Kardashians this year.
Oh, I didn't see that.
No, yeah, where Kourtney Kardashian was trying to say, this is why we're all messed up, because we have all this family trauma. But I feel like that's becoming a thing that we're talking about more, where it used to be something that we'd brush aside as, oh, our crazy family, as opposed to looking into actually, no, those are traumatic relationships.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people, I know I associated trauma with just different kinds of abuse, or if there's no food, but that is not true. Having a parent who is pushing you to overachieve is trauma. And you find that I'm listening to Dr. Nicole LePera's book right now, How to Be the Love You Seek.
Yes.
And it's so good. And it helps you learn about all these different things that happen when you're young and the woman that you become. And that's what I was bringing out in this novel. So you'll see how Emerson, she falls under her mom, who left, and so she's hyper independent and she doesn't want to be bothered. And then you see Odester, who was overlooked and always cooking and cleaning, and how she clung to this relationship to the first man who really looked at her. And then Manon, who is just like, she's disconnected because she's better than everybody else and she's expected to be a certain way, and there's an air about her and she doesn't have time. But they all come together and they realize we're all perfectly imperfect and we can work through this and we can all be okay. And that's the beauty of writing about families and relationships, because we all have something, no matter where we come from, there's always something, but it's okay. And we can find a way to get through it. And that's what I try to bring out in my novels.
I love that. Well, it definitely comes off. I haven't finished the book because I did just recently get it, but so far what I'm reading, it comes off as that. And I can't wait to read more. And you guys are in for a treat in January when it comes out. It's going to be amazing. So with that, your writing process. So where did the idea from Rue come from? And when you started writing it, what came first? Was it figuring out this family, or was it the stories?
It was figuring out the characters. So I really do go deep into my characters. And even though my first two novels are lighter on the heart and the head, I still go deep into characters, habits, quirks, fears. I go deep into those things. And with this one, I wanted to do the characters first. That's my writing process. And then I bring it all together. And I wanted Rue to be the title because in this family, cooking is a huge thing. So the women in this novel cook a lot. And I don't know if you've ever had gumbo, but gumbo in Louisiana, the book is set in Opelousas. Gumbo roux is the base. Roux is the base of the gumbo. And you put all of these different things in there. And if you don't know roux, if you're looking at a recipe, you're like, oh my God, this doesn't make sense, all these different things. And I feel like that's what relates to family. You have all of these different people, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. But when you put it all together and you simmer it, it comes out to be perfectly, and it tastes really good. And I think that's the same thing that happens in this family, is there's all these crazy dynamics that are going on. But when they get together, there's all this like crazy love and support that they have for each other.
Yeah, that definitely does show.
Yeah.
I love that. Now I know what roux is.
Yeah, it's gumbo roux. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like kind of like I'm Italian American, so like the secret sauce and like what you put in. And every family has a different what makes their tomato sauce. So
and I talk about that.
Yeah.
In Louisiana, we do a seafood gumbo, and so my family is from Baton Rouge. The book is set in Opelousas, but when I moved to California, people make gumbo here and they put chicken in it.
Okay.
And I was like, don't put chicken in gumbo. But so yes, there's a secret sauce, but then there's people make it in different ways. It's same as family.
I love that. Yeah. And so you write, all three of your books have been fiction.
Yes.
But they are some ties. I mean, actually, this would be an assumption question for you. How do you connect to your work, and how much of your fiction is inspired by your own reality?
A lot of it is inspired by real life. My mom's side of the family, my mom passed, and all of her siblings. And so I have 11 first cousins, and most of us don't have any parents. And so if you can imagine us from the ages of, I think the span was maybe 19 to 30 years old, and we're all helping each other, trying to figure out life and marriage and divorce and school and kids. And we're all learning ourselves without having a matriarch. It's chaotic.
Yeah.
And so a lot of experiences and trauma and things that happened were real for me, because I don't know, 32 or 33, and I
Mhm.
became this de facto matriarch, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to make a lot of decisions, and just everything that came along with that. It lends to me writing in my stories about how we grow and learn and figure out. And no matter what we do, no matter what kind of mistakes we make, it is okay.
Mhm.
It's okay.
Yeah. Well, with Amaya in Never Too Soon and Anytime Soon, right? That's her journey, that she takes over the role as matriarch and kind of ends up, well, seemingly missing out on a lot of what people in their 20s and 30s are normally going through because she's so focused on keeping the family together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
And
That's
it happens
incredible.
to a lot of us, whether we realize it or not. And you can become a matriarch when your mom or you have aunts who are still living.
Mhm.
It just depends on relationship. It depends on maturity. It depends on different things. So it happens. I know several people who have become like the matriarch in their family, and they still have a real matriarch in the family. But it helps you grow and develop, and it gives you this level of understanding of life that you just wouldn't get normally, and you
Right.
get a piece of set and a sense of self, like, okay, this is going to work out, and no matter what happens, it's going to work out. As long as nothing is broken and you don't die, you will figure it out, and you can work it out. And so I do lend a lot of personal things that have happened into my stories.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Have you ever gotten, I guess backlash is the wrong word, but anyone from your like real life being like, "Oh, I can't believe you put that in there."
Mhm.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I'm the one I'll
Yeah.
be at the family events with my phone. If I
Yeah.
have my phone, I'm probably taking notes. But I will. If it's something interesting enough, I will put it in there. So I don't know if you got to this in
Mhm.
Never Too Soon, but there's a scene where Sophie, she's a serial dater, and she
Mhm.
goes on this date with this guy, and they are ordering enchiladas, and
Uh-huh.
the lady, the waitress says, "Do you want cheese enchiladas?" Or he's like, "I thought all enchiladas had cheese." Or that was a true story
Oh
that my
no.
aunt told me. Yeah, it like almost verbatim when she told me that. I said, "I'm putting this in my
Yeah.
book."
Well, they do all have cheese, but the
Yeah.
cheese enchilada doesn't have meat. That's the difference.
And then the blanched vegetables, because he's
Uh-huh.
reading and he's like,
Oh.
"Oh, you bleach your vegetables?" And she's
That is a true story too.
It's a true story. Yeah,
Oh
he thought it
man.
was bleached vegetables, but
Beach.
it was blanched. Yeah, yeah. So I got all that from her.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And now a big part of what you do, in addition to being an author, is that you want to inspire other aspiring authors to write as well. I know you're currently teaching right
Yes, I
now,
am.
and you also have this amazing notebook out that helps people write their story. Can you tell people a little bit more about that?
Yes, it is a writing journal. When I first started writing, I worked full time, and I thought of it more as a hobby. I didn't know that I would actually become a published author. And there were all these tools and things that I didn't know that took me years to learn. And so I started organizing my thoughts and organizing different things. And I developed a writing journal for
Wow.
authors. And so it covers the gamut, from the inspiration process. Just from something you glean through the day, whether it's a smell and a cute outfit that you saw. It covers family dynamics, what Thanksgiving dinner is like, the last big fight your family had, and it goes all the way through event planning, launching your book, the business side of writing a book where you have to think about budget and money. It just covers everything that I wish I had known when I
Yeah.
first started writing. And it also allows you to take notes and think about what your writing process is going to be and what you're going to write about, and character development and setting your plot. It covers all of it. And I actually use it every day. I'm using it now for my book launch.
Oh,
So I have
nice.
this in there. Like, it's a really good tool.
And where can people get that? Where can people get that? On
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
It's Your Story Matters. It's the
Uh-huh.
author's guide and journal.
And so you get that there, and then all your books are on your website and Amazon, all the links.
Yes,
Right.
Amazon,
And
Barnes
then
and
you can
Noble.
get Never Too Soon here at Zibby's.
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm guessing this too when it comes out.
Yes, when it comes
Also
out.
Rue when it comes out at
Yes,
Zibby's,
yes.
right here in Santa Monica off Montana.
Yes.
So what was, I'm curious, what was the biggest lesson for you when you started to write your book? What is something that you wish you knew? Because you were just saying that Anytime Soon was you kind of, when you did Never Too Soon, you're like, oh, I wished I could kind of get a second shot at writing it. And that's kind of what Never Too Soon was for you. So what was that like aha moment? What was that realization?
I think it was the editing process, feeling like I had enough of a voice to say no.
Mm.
With Anytime Soon, there were a lot of cuts in the book and I didn't feel confident enough to say, no, this is how we talk, or no, this is the way it's supposed to be. I let it pass. I gained a little more confidence and Never Too Soon. And then with Rue, I had a stronger voice because I really wanted to tell this story. And I really wanted these characters to shine in their way, in their personality, and in their Southern lingo. And so I was fine with the question marks.
Yep.
The editor, she's like, I don't know what this means. I'm like, fine. I'll tell you what it means, and we're going to keep it there.
Yeah, good. I'm happy you did that. I'm happy you stood your ground on that.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like having your words and being creative in your novels. Everybody is not going to get it and understand, but you still want it to come across, and you want to be authentic in your story, and you want to be true to your characters.
How do you go from writing a lighter book like these books to going to Rue? Like, was that hard getting the publisher to be on board with trusting you to write a different type of book?
A little bit it was, because that was my jam. Like I could write a good chick lit. You could read it on the beach and it was fun. And this time it was very different. But they did trust me and they loved it. I thought, because my readers have been asking for the third book in the Anaya's World series, and I've been trying to like get back to it. And I was reading a little bit the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not light. It's more literary. So it's interesting making that shift and trying to see if I can get back to where I started.
Are there any Easter eggs to Amaya or any like nods in Rue, or did you just keep those worlds completely separate?
They're completely separate. Yeah.
Did you ever think about doing that?
Not for this. I wanted this family to be completely separate. They're from Opelousas. They have different issues. Emerson's family, they're completely Bay Area. They're Gen X and Gen Z, completely different lifestyles.
And are you considering doing a third version of the Amaya World series?
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to work on that, but it's just hard for me to get back into that light writing.
Coming from
I have started, yes. But I think I owe it to my readers because they've been asking. So I am going to do a third book in the Anaya's World series.
I love that. Yeah. And reading Rue, and this is true with all your writing, the characters jump off the page. You feel like you are kind of eavesdropping a conversation, and they feel so real, and the stories are so beautifully told. So have you ever considered, or maybe let's manifest this, adapting it into film and television? And if so, what would that dream be for you in terms of like cast or direction?
That would be amazing. I don't write for screen, but that would be absolutely amazing. And I've heard that about my novels and my character. The dialogue is very personal, and the characters feel they're very relatable. Like when you read the book, you'll say, "I know her. Yeah, I know him." Yeah, they're very relatable. But that would be great. And if I did it, I could see it being more of a series. Because there's always more to tell. There, you can always dig deeper. And even when I read, it's okay. It's okay. And even reading the book when I was going through the final edits, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can develop this more. I can figure. So there's always more to add, but that would be great.
I don't know. I was thinking kind of like This Is Us in terms of structure because of how it jumps from different time periods and different perspectives of different characters. I feel like to find a way to get it to someone.
I loved that show. And just the complexity of it, and figuring out and watching, even, I don't know if you've gotten to this, but with Odester and the issues that she had with her addiction and how that manifested, and it went down even to her own daughter.
Wow.
And you don't realize a lot of times what we're doing and what we're saying and the impact that it has on our children, or the things that our parents did and said, and the impact that it has on us. A lot of times we don't realize it until we're a lot older. And so it would be good to be able to show those three generations in a way that continues, and you see how they continue to evolve, because people do evolve. And Odester, at the end, well, I won't tell you what happened at the end.
Well, not just for me, for everyone. They can't even buy it yet.
I know.
They can't read it yet.
They continue to evolve. And all of my characters do. They come from a place of like, oh my God, this is awful, to like, okay, this is not so bad. I can still find a way to be grateful and thankful even in the midst of this chaos.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. I want to open it up to, we have some people here. If anyone has any questions, or anyone, I wish they could see if people had questions online. No, not yet. Yes.
I'm curious. You seem like a person that has a lot of ideas when it comes to storytelling. How do you pick which genre you're going to write in, or what type of book it's going to be? Is it going to be mystery? Is it going to be like, how do you choose what you're going to write?
I stick to fiction, and I usually stick to relationships and family, and a lot of like personal journey and growth. I stick in there, not only because of my own years and years of therapy and growth, but because it's important to me as I'm developing. So I always know that I'm going to stay in that area. The tricky part for me is storylines, is figuring out where I'm going to take them and how. And anytime soon, they have 3 best friends, and one of them she works as a prostitute, and a lot of people don't know that. And so digging into that storyline, that was hard for me to go into that and to develop that character, and that is a real part of life. So characters in the genre part is easy for me. It's almost a given, but it's how to tell those stories through the storylines and what's the best way to get that story across to the reader.
Follow-up question. Do you know the ending of your stories before you write them?
No. I'm not one of those writers. I'm not even going to pretend, because they say you should know the ending of your story before you. No, I don't. I just, a lot of times I'll tell you, when I'm sitting down and writing, we're in it together. Like my characters and I, we're figuring it out together. We're rolling through, and I step into my therapist mode and we work through together. So as I'm writing the story, I'm figuring it out along the way. Yeah. I love that.
So when you start writing, do you write with the intent to how you're going to start it, the middle of it? Do you write with that intent, or do you just write and then go back and figure out where this is going to start and pick up?
Usually when I start, I have an idea and the intent comes along the way. So with Odester, I knew that she was sort of the black sheep of the family. I knew that she was going to have this issue with reading and learning. And as I worked with her and developed her, that's when the relationship and the drug abuse and that kind of came along. And then I realized, okay, since we're talking about relationships and families and mothers and daughters, I'm going to circle back, and this is what's going to be a part of what's happening with her daughter.
How did you decide to start it in 2016?
Random. That's just random.
Yeah, the years that you chose for Rue, those were just random?
Well, for Rue, I wanted it to be modern. So I wanted to be up to date, but I did not want to cover anything COVID.
Right.
And so that's why I chose 2019 instead of 2020 or 2023, because I would have had to cover a lot of things wouldn't have made sense.
Right.
Like different events, banquets, different things that the characters did. And I didn't want to cover masks. So that's why I started 2019. I kept it there and before.
And when did you start writing Rue? When did the first idea come? And now we know, like, obviously.
I started writing it, I want to say in 2020 when I was home all day working from home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a nice escape. That's why you're like, I don't want to remember.
I
this.
didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't want to cover that at all.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you on that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Novels are usually like 400 pages. So do you have some kind of deal that it has to be 400 pages? And what happens if you get stuck on page 200? Do you take a break? Or?
I don't have restrictions on the pages, and I keep going until I feel like the characters are complete and they've learned and figured things out, and my readers have learned and figured things out. So I keep going until then. But up till now, I haven't had any issue with the page number.
Is that what you imagined the page count to be when you had initially like pitched the book?
Nope.
I
had no idea. And there was a point where I thought I was done with the book, and I went through the first round of editing, and she's like, this relationship, that person, this thing. And I was like, okay, you want me to go deep? Then you asked for it.
Well, that was going to be my next question: is how do you know when the book is done? How do you know when the story is done? And I saw your question. That is your question.
How did you know?
I don't know.
I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Stories are
Right.
endless,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
stop.
No, they don't. But when I get to a place where my characters feel like, okay, so if my characters feel like that, then the book is done for me. But of course, after you do this, you're going to get up and then something else is going to happen, right? It's never ending, but you do have to find a place to pause. And so I found a really good place to pause where there's just enough angst to people are like, this is not completely done, but like, oh, okay. So you're not on the edge of your seat with like, man, that's terrible. Man, what happened? But like, oh, okay, I like to know more.
Well, you said pause, and we were talking about if you were to make it a series you love that you could tell more. So is there a way, would you ever do a part 2 of Rue?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love them. Like when I start writing my characters, I really get connected to them. And I like them a lot. I like all of them. I like Odester. I really like to see what happens with her. Like if she ever like goes to school, I think about them in that way, like very, very personal, very connected to them. And so I could see myself writing a second book.
If you did a second book, would you still have the same 3 characters telling the story, or would you maybe have any of their other family members, anyone else on that tree telling the story?
That's interesting because when I started, I had 4 perspectives.
Oh, that was my next.
Yes,
so
I had 4 perspectives.
Who got cut?
Phyllis,
Okay.
Emerson's mom.
Yeah.
So I cut her. I didn't. And then I thought about doing the aunt, Erlene, but I didn't do her. So if I did a sequel, I would definitely keep Odester. I would definitely keep Manon because she's so complicated, especially with all of her issues in therapy. But I would probably add in one of the aunts and take Emerson out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know how I feel when I finish a book. I have mixed feelings, and then I go through sadness because I miss my book, I miss the characters, and it's like, how did I rush to finish it? And so I have mixed feelings. How do you feel when you finish a book? Do you need a long break? Oh, I mean, I can imagine how you after writing so long and trying to edit it so many times. And
I feel the same way.
You do?
Yeah, because when I'm writing, everything is a part of the writing process. So whatever I'm seeing when I'm out, if I hear a conversation, if I hear an interesting name, I still have a chance to change a name. And when it's all said and done and it's final, like after those final edits, I'm just like, okay, there's like a little bit of anxiety. You feel anxious, but then there's a little bit of sadness because you're like, gosh, I'm not going to see them for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of sadness. Yeah.
Any other questions? Is there anything that you wanted to touch upon that I didn't ask?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Make sure to pre-order the book.
Yes.
It comes out January 9th. I'm really excited about this book, and I'm so proud of it. And just me changing my style of writing into something more literary. So I'm excited. I did get like my first review the other day because I sent out some advance.
Oh yeah, what was
copies.
the review?
Oh my gosh, she was like, I finished this book in 2 days and I could not stop, and I love them. And she's like, we need to have a prayer meeting for Odester. And I was like, yeah, we need to. She has a lot of issues. So yeah.
I love it. Well, definitely make sure everyone pre-order Rue
please.
now. It's a perfect gift for yourself or for friends. You could always send it to them. And right now you can still buy at Zibby's Never Too Soon.
Yes.
And the one last thing, if you don't mind, you said on Amazon you have this.
The book.
Yes, the planner.
Your Story Matters.
Yes, Your Story Matters.
Is it under your name?
Tamika Christy.
And that's also a great holiday gift that you can order now and have in time for the holidays. Yeah. Amazing. Yes. Well, Tamika, thank you. This was so fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
We have copies of both books, so if anyone would like to purchase anything, any signings as well.
Thank you.
I can take this off.
Do you know anything about